looking for a podcast to help you transform your physical and mental? One that'll shoot you straight between the eyes with truth and no BS, helping you have the right mindset to accomplish things, the iron will and fortitude to follow through with what you say you're going to do. No excuses. Mark owns martial arts schools, and after 30 years, he has some real insight for real talk, real life, real conversations, motivational, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, live from the Great 1-8. This is Real Talk with Mark Cox.
All right. Good morning. We got live. Just so you know, too, Zach, that people, if anybody's here listening, we can see we already got listeners popping on. You're welcome to ask some questions of him as we kind of go through his journey a little bit. Good morning. He's in California too, so we get to say good morning. Most of the time, sometimes most people are on the East Coast when I'm doing these shows. So you're on our same time zone out in the San Francisco area. Welcome to the show, Zach. I'm glad you joined us. Unique way we got to learn. I found out about you on a podcast. You put in as wanting to be a guest, and I happened to do that same thing. And it's kind of how we kind of gelled. I found you because being a veteran, we've got a heart for our veterans and especially in my world, in my martial arts world. And so I wanted to welcome you aboard. As a matter of fact, I think now Daniela's listening right now. Her husband's a veteran Marine. So you're going to get your people on here listening to you. So I want to give you a couple seconds, Zach, to go ahead and introduce yourself, and we're just going to jump right into what it is you do. So take the floor, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a horse facility in the Bay Area, just a few minutes from the San Francisco Zoo. And I found that horses kind of saved my life. It brought me back from the traumas and anxieties that I had from post Afghanistan and coming back, and horses saved me, and I kind of just dedicated my life to being with horses and to help them. And I found that I wanted to start helping other veterans, so I decided to just let veterans ride for free at my facilities, and veterans just started coming, and I had a lot of them give me their stories and how the horses were helping them. And so this is I've been doing this for a long time. I just got this new facility, and still we hold true to veterans ride for free.
So let's talk about a couple things. In your bio that you sent to me. Well, first of all, what branch of service who'd you serve with?
I was in the Army.
And were you in any special ops or just?
Yeah, I was in long range surveillance when I was active duty, and then when I got out of active service, I switched over to being a paper pusher for a while in the reserves. That was fun.
So you stuck with reserves for a little bit afterwards.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. It says here, so like a lot of veterans, you guys that are listening on here, it says after facing challenges, mental struggles, you discover solace and renewal through horses, which this is what's inspired your purpose to help them. And it says here, revenue generated from non-veteran riders ensures that his invaluable service remains complimentary for those who served. Today, Zachary stands on a beacon of resilience and channeling his passion to uplift fellow veterans through therapeutic power of horseback riding. Now, so you have a facility, and let's see what Daniela has to say here. Yes, horses are so calming. That's awesome.
Thank you, Dan.
So I owned a horse. I forgot to tell you about that. So I owned a horse for a long time. His name was Black. And it was, this was many years ago. And he was a quarter horse racer, as a matter of fact. And, he was a big boy, and when I had horse property, that's the first time I ever owned a horse. Now, owning a horse is kind of like having a child with no health insurance.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So having it shoed and having it, all the medical stuff that comes along, and then to feed it and to take care of it. But it was definitely a therapeutic thing. So, and how I lost Black, unfortunately, there's a certain kind of disease that they can get from possum feces. and it kind of messes their brain. And, I'll never forget my horse. We could not get him. We couldn't get him well. We tried all kinds of medications, and it just kind of took him. And so after that, I remember when we had to put Black down and him laying there in the mud, and I was down there with him in the rain, and that was a rough day. So I know how therapeutic horses were. I used to love it. I lived in on a lane that the houses all had kind of where you can ride it. So at Christmas time, I'd zip up as Santa Claus and drive around the thing, and I had a really good time with that. So I get where horses are now. Did you have any of that experience in the Army? Did you do anything with the horses in the Army?
Yeah, so I didn't do anything like Army related, but while I was in, I would go find opportunities to cowboy or work on stables for the weekends when I wasn't employed or at a school. So uh, I found opportunity. And then when I got out, I stopped for a while. I did what you're supposed to do. I was like, okay, I have GI Bill. I'm supposed to go to school. I'm supposed to be an adult in the real world. And it was, pretty devastating. I think that losing the horses and then losing your team and losing your purpose, all of that together really took a toll on me. And so later on in my, while I was going to school, I came across the gentleman who wanted help tipping his Mustangs, and that was the moment that I got back into it, and it was a moment that made me feel like almost like a kid again, and then I started chasing that feeling.
That's good. Now, so as a young man, was horses part of what you were?
So as a young man, girls were a part of who I was, and there was a girl that had a
Well,
horse.
that's how it all starts.
Yeah, and so I like the girls. So then obviously I like horses because I like the girl, and then I started developing a better relationship with the horses than the girl. She showed up with another guy, and I was like, "Hey, can I still hang out with your horses?" So that was the first experience with horses. Yeah.
So that's how it starts. Yeah, we usually start chasing you chase the skirt, and then these fall in love with what they have. So
Yeah.
that is, and then of course it's an animal, so you really fall in love with it as it is too. So I get it. I get that. Well, let's talk about the mental part of it first. Okay. Now in the military, when you serve, we talked a little bit about this offline before we got on there, but I'm telling you that this is something that we speak about quite often. We have a lot of veterans in our organization. I have studio owners that are vets. I'm around them quite often. They just did a fundraiser for a major veterans out in Georgia. And our keynote speaker named Ryan Davis, if you have a minute, I don't know if you went and listened to his podcast with me, but Ryan Davis is the podcast that I had the most listens with. And he was blown up and with no leg, no hip. One of his arms are gone, both, his legs, and then all the way up to, his one leg. And, he's been doing Krav now for a while. And his last YouTube, man, he's in a wheelchair, and we got Joe, the other vet that's training him, and kicking him kicking him in his chair, and him fighting this way and using jujitsu. And he's went from this refined. We built some stuff in the school so that we make fun of it all the time, because if you can't laugh at it, you can't. It looks like a human pinata. I told him, when you're hanging up on this thing, we're getting him going. But I'm telling you that it's amazing that he's alive. Number one, it's amazing what he's gone through mentally, and then to see the strength he's getting through martial arts. And he talks a lot about, of course, he had suicidal thoughts, a lot about mental problems that our vets have, and wanting to commit suicide. And was this any kind of a driving force? Did you lose anybody that to that at all?
Yeah, I lost people. I lost several people while we were in Afghanistan. And then it's like there's a trickle effect too, because you'll come back to the real world, but you have people who stay in, and then every year, another deployment, another call, another notice on another person down. Yeah, it's pretty devastating. I would say that, it's obviously devastating to lose people. And especially when you're there and it's like 1 minute they're there, another minute they're not. And that's unfortunate. Coming back into the real world, I felt like I lost everybody for a moment too. Because you get out of the military, you come home and you lose every support system, it seems. And then you feel kind of bad when you see somebody. You feel really bad when somebody, is lost and you're no longer a part of the team. So yeah, those are things that keep hitting you. It never stops. Even like I tell people, the horses, they're my therapy. They're not a cure though. When I work with a horse, I come out of it much better. My day's better. You could see a direct correlation between when I work with the horse and when I don't. But if I don't work with the horse for a while, then stuff keeps creeping back up. So.
And we understand that. So, and the audience that's listening, this is why it was really important to have you on, Zach, to let you listen, because the average person does not really realize what our military goes through, the sacrifices they put on the line, the people they lose. Now, I don't know if I shared this with you. It looks like you have a brother online, named Doug Clausen.
Doug, how you doing, Doug? Good to see you on here.
And so, our Team 3, my jiu-jitsu program is called Team 3. And that was our jiu-jitsu instructor was in overseas also, and he lost 11 of his men. So that's his team 3. So he was a ranger, led Team 3 and lost his men. And he too was told that he would never walk again. He was wounded, lost purpose and everything else, and jiu-jitsu is what saved him. Became a world champion. Now he's also on SWAT team. He's a detective in the El Monte Police Department. And he says the same thing. So of not having purpose, or us keeping his men alive by calling ourselves Team 3. Team 3 is what keeps those 11 guys. Everywhere we go, Team 3 is represented. Every time we compete, Team 3 is represented. His men will never be forgotten in our schools. Their faces hang up in my school. And every time we go out there for Sergio's men, right? So we get this loss of purpose. And I want to ask you about that. When you came out, how did you cope first? Did you have somebody that you can go to? Did you do it on your own? So for those that are out there kind of struggling a little bit, let's get to where you did and how you started to help yourself.
Yeah, so I didn't cope at first. I came back, and again, I started with the right process, I suppose. I was going to school. I even started a little business. I was doing what you would assume is the right process, and I was miserable. I missed the team. I missed the goals. I missed the things that I joined the military when I was 17. My adult structure came from that, and there's a level of adulthood that you just don't get when you're in the military. They kind of hold you together a bit, and then you get kind of kicked out there in the real world, and you understand the process, but you don't understand it well. And so I felt alone. I felt I was struggling, and I started drinking. I didn't start bettering myself or finding purpose until I drank enough to get a DUI, which that kind of was my rock bottom. I went to this Vietnam vet kind of got my story and said, okay, you like horses? Well, I happen to have horses and I tip Mustangs. And he's like, instead of coming here, I know that you have to do this program for your DUI. Come to my ranch and we'll work with some Mustangs. And so that was, somebody gave me an opportunity to work with these Mustangs. I had a background with horses, and that was the changing factor. So I did my few times I was supposed to do. Then I found that I started going there every weekend, and I spent all of my extra time with these horses, and I was was in, and it just changed everything. It made me have hope. It gave me purpose. Every time you work with a horse, you have to have a deliberate thing that you're working on. So I was getting goal oriented again. I was thinking about, okay, what else can I do to help these horses around? Like it was all that was the big change. I had to kind of hit hit rock bottom, do bad, I guess, in a sense, to find where the purpose is. So that was my story about it.
So, and that's not, yes, and that comes from a lot of people, just so you know. Daniela just wrote you a nice note. This is, she's, her husband's the one that's a veteran Marine.
Yeah.
But she's witnessed this firsthand. Heart goes out to all of you, our heroes. And I would say that, yes, you guys do kind of, vets, law enforcement, firefighters, they all kind of lean on each other to kind of come in, and then they're still losing people on a regular, which is super sad to say the least, because you just, you try hard. So I want to talk about this little thing called purpose, because military, it's definitely one thing, right? Going from, commanders or in combat, what you're doing, young, but yet thrown in this adult situation where you have life and death situations going on around you, and people having, injuries and death and everything else. And you got to grow up very quickly, but your purpose is already kind of mandated in what you're doing in the job right at second. And then wham, you come out, and now maybe you getting hurt, and then you really lose purpose because you can't even go out with your guys anymore. So tell me some other stories is this the same thing over and over, so people understand? Do you hear this quite often? I just don't have any purpose with my life anymore. Whether they're married and they have a family, do you feel that is one of the number one things that you hear?
Yeah, I hear a lot about losing their purpose. I have one example. This is actually this guy. His name is Michael, and early on in my building this business, he was the person that made me decide, okay, veterans are going to be free, and I'm going to cut all the red tape, and just make it so that you show proof of service and you can come out and ride. His name is Michael. I was at the VA getting checked up on, and Michael was there, and he was also being checked, and he was throwing a fit because they weren't able to get him a ride back to his place, which happened to be really close to my ranch. So I was like, it's all right. I'm going to take you home. I got you. Just wait till I'm done with my thing, and I'll take you home. And as we were driving, he was just talking about how, upset he is, and how he's just not doing well, and how the VA is not helping him, and how he misses his team. And he talked about how he lost, half his team on a mission. He went on his whole story, and I was like, hey, I have to stop by the ranch. You want to stop by the ranch with me? I didn't actually have to, but I was like, I think that maybe you need horses. And so I went over there, and I showed him the place, and he's like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was like, okay, well, you want to get on a horse? So got him on a horse. We went for a ride, came back, and was like, all right, I'll take you home. He's like, well, could I just like hang out here? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I got one of my employees to give him a lesson, and he was grooming horses. He just kind of sat there and groomed horses for hours. Like, hey, whenever you want to go back, you let me know. I'll take you home. He stayed until we closed at the end of the day. I brought him home, and he was like, could I come back tomorrow? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I brought him back, and he ended up coming out like every day. He was fully disabled. He didn't have a job, nor did he have the will to have a job. And he kept coming out. And after like a few months, he told me, like, I was going to kill myself. I had that absolute plan. It was the day that you came, that you drove me. I was going to go home, and I was done. And he's like, this was a huge change for him. And he found purpose in the horses. He found something that he can help with in a world where he felt like he was useless and he had no purpose. These horses, he could find a way to be at service to the horses. And he can, because every little good try is a benefit to the horse. He was able to make positive change and see it in real time. And so, that made all the difference in the world for him. So
Yeah, see that now, that's just an awesome story on somebody, the intervene that sometimes God just puts people right in your path, and it's nothing. I don't think there's coincidences. I think that there's interventions, to be honest with you. So what an awesome thing. Now, so you have employees and stuff. So this is an actual business. So you obviously that, I'm not sure, you teach riding and stuff there also. Is that what it is to those that are not in service? Are you teaching riding and stuff? And is that how it funds those that want to use it? Your veterans.
Sure. So the way it's funded is we do guided trail rides down to the beach. We're right on the coastal line. So anybody who wants to come out and do a trail ride with their family or their loved ones, they can come out and they'll get a guided trail ride down to the beach. If they want to do lessons, we have a lesson program. We do team building exercises using horses as a tool for team building. Corporate events. We are building pods for the back end of the property so people can stay and do full horsemanship clinics and enjoy it kind of like a guest ranch. We're putting a restaurant, a food truck that will permanently be on the property as a cowboy cookout. So there's a lot of different avenues here. The part that stays true for what we're specifically talking about is veterans will ride the trail rides for free. I do clinics for veterans only, so they can come out in a group and we can do these team building exercises, but with veterans. And if they want to do lessons, they can. There's no red tape. As much or as little as a veteran wants to do out here, I will build a team. I will hire more employees if I have too many veterans. That is the number one goal, is that we are helping horses and we're helping veterans. And then everybody else, they need to keep coming so that we can keep affording to do this mission.
And yes, awesome business models. And do you find that those that are not veterans are excited about that what they're doing is helping veterans? Do you find that
those
correlation?
who come to understand the correlation are really excited, but it's not like a high emphasis on that. It says on our website, veterans ride for free, but we're not branding the whole, hey, you're coming and paying so that the veterans ride for free. That is, our underlying business model. But I haven't really, I don't think that it's like branded that way. So some people see the connection and they're excited to do that. But most people are just coming to enjoy their ride with their loved ones. And then as they come and ride, it makes it so that it makes sense that veterans can come ride for free.
Well, we're talking about this. Go ahead and let everybody know the name so they can find you on Facebook. Go ahead and give them the name of what it is, first of all.
It's Ocean View Stables. So it'd be oceanviewstables.com. And we're located in the Bay Area, just a few minutes away from the San Francisco Zoo.
So when you take them out on these trail rides and you say, it's by the beach, now, are you taking them down to the beach like you see, or is this, you have trails that are above sea level and you see, you'll see the beach line and stuff like that? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we're like 220 feet above the sea level and we ride down to the actual beach. So you go down the bluffs. It's a beautiful ride all the way down to the beach, and then you come back up. It's an experience for sure.
So now, is that part? Did you put your stables there because there's trails for that particular thing? Is that how did you choose that?
This horse facility has been here for over 100 years. It was a World War II horse facility for the cavalry. And then from there, it's changed hands as a recreational business for many years. This was the first change of ownership in over 60 years. So we purchased it about 6 months ago. And we're bringing our love and attention to horses and to veterans and to the community. And we have a big plan for it.
That is okay. I got a question in the back of my head because I've got another heart for things, but I want to ask you. You said there for the horses also. Are you rehabilitating any horses also, or where do you get your horses? Or how has that come about?
Yeah, so it's one of my favorite things to do is to give horses second chances. I find horses with behavioral issues that others seem to not have the ability or know how to fix, and then I will purchase them and I will work through their behavioral issues and give them a second job. Yeah, so that's my favorite part of the horse side. I get to work on my horsemanship with each one of these new horses on our team.
So you're one of those horse whisperers, per se. Is that correct?
I aspire to be, yes.
This, those are unique individuals too. There's just some kind of connection. So I'm listening to you talk about all this, but I also know I've always had a heart for special needs kids, especially autistic kids and stuff like that. And I know that horses, for some reason, have a special bond with autistic children. Not sure why. It's just something that they have. I've seen it over and over again. Have you had any interactions with special needs and horses?
So we're not in a therapy program in which, like, there's some really awesome programs like eGala and Path where they work with special needs kids and really work towards rehabilitating them with horses. That's amazing. That being said, if somebody comes for a lesson and they have any disability, if I can work with it, I absolutely will, and I have. And I think that horses, they're super emotionally intelligent. They know when you're putting a kid on them. They know when somebody is kind of aggressive. They kind of pick up the slack if you're putting somebody on them that needs that extra help. I don't know why. They're just brilliant.
I know. It's always been, horses always have amazed me that way too. Even when I had Black, I remember riding Black. I remember when we first found the disease, we were kind of going down, and I can tell he was struggling. I'm like, "What's the deal, Black?" And I could tell, but on the same token, he was like almost protecting me. You know what I mean? I could just feel it. I could feel like, "Hey, man, something's off." And he kind of looked back at me and I said, "Hey, man, do we need to walk it home?" So I hopped off and we walked home together, and I remember that day too, just kind of nudging me on the shoulder. Like he's just telling me, "Hey man, something's not right. Something's off." And I remember, I'm telling you, man, I remember that vividly. And that was kind of the start of the decline of losing my horse. And then, trying to get another one was, they need that attention. And if you can't have it, it's just not worth, having it. It's better to make sure they have a home that, that they can deal with. But, I've always felt animals are super therapeutic anyway. All of them, I love time with my dog. I love early mornings, like right before I came here. Every morning I do this, I get up early and I kind of sit and do some reading, or we'll answer some emails, and, my dog will sit on my lap and my other one's on the couch, and that's our early morning. It's just what I do. It kind of sets the day, it sets the tone, kind of relieves a little bit of stress per se. Now, you have employees. Are you there full time? Is it your full-time gig, or do you have it as a business? And you say you have big plans for it. So let's talk a little bit what your vision is.
Yeah, so I have employees. This one is at an infancy stage still. I'm still very involved in every aspect of it. So is my business partner. But it's a business, and we've structured it very well. You could think like your jiu-jitsu business. You're not in every aspect of it, but I'm sure when you first started your first one, you had to be in each aspect. We have a lesson program, but it's all on paper, written out. Like these are the processes. This is what you're going to learn at level 1. This is what you'll learn at level 2. This is what you're going to, what we're going to get you to at level 3. And then I have my employees. They have to make it through level 1 and 2 to be able to teach level 1, and they have to make it through to 1, 2, 3 to be able to teach 2. And so it has a similar like karate type aspect as far as like the educational level. But as long as I have employees that have made it through to a certain point, then there is a level of standoff. As far as the guided trail rides, these same employees that have proven themselves to be to understand the foundational horsemanship are able to take out guided trail rides. So I'm not needed to take out all of the rides. The big picture, I'm still a part of all aspects of, making this thing the thing that it's going to be. But we have a really strong team. So it should eventually get itself to a point where I could get it off the ground completely and then replicate it again. So
that's kind of where your plan is on this. And so you've used the model in order to kind of help enhance the experience for veterans is what you've done, making sure that they have a way. Now, do you have some vets that work with you there? You have volunteers?
So I don't have volunteers. I think that the volunteer system can be abused, so I just don't do it. What I do have is student assistants, and those are people that are in our program, in our horsemanship program, and they can be around, similar to a volunteer, but their sole objective is to be with the horses. So they're not mucking stalls, they're not, fixing, cleaning. They're just with the horses. They're grooming, they're bathing, they're going on rides, they're bettering their horsemanship. They're in the round pins or arenas. So it gives them more time under saddle and more time around the horses to better their horsemanship.
That's definitely good. That just sounds awesome. Just to have that ocean view thing is like, hey, I've never done that. So this here, it sounds awesome because of course you see it in the movies, people riding, on the beach and stuff like that. I've never experienced that.
Well, come on.
I'm gonna experience that. I'm telling you, if I'm coming out that way, I'm experiencing that.
Absolutely. You better let me know. I'll be taking your ride out.
Yeah, that's definitely something up my alley. I'm thinking about it, right? I'm like, man, why can't the guys because I can't all my vet boys and our coppers just come up to you, man, and we go do that one time. It just sounds like a guy's trip.
And very soon we'll have pods in the back, and you'll be able to stay on property, have a beautiful ocean view and your place to stay, be able to do a clinic and a trail ride, and get some barbecue from our food truck. Yeah, it'll be all inclusive.
Yeah, Zach, man, that sounds awesome, man. It sounds so good. That sounds so good. So unique, man. I can't wait to blast this out to my other vets. They'll be the vets will all be listening to this podcast too, and see what we can do. And at least because how I don't know how it is, but I'm telling you, it is a small community. Vets, they're almost like they can sniff each other out in a crowd. As a matter of fact, okay. It's so weird. And we're the same way, when law enforcement, you just kind of, I don't know, you can catch the vibe, you can feel, what it is. And, they start asking questions and they start, hey, what you got? And
I'm going to school for computer science right now. And I walked into one of my classes and I'm like, walked right up to a person, sat down next to him, like, you've been sniped. You're in the military, or you were in the military. He's like, how'd you know?
It is, right? So Danielle is saying, Amelia would love this. She's asking again where you're located. Go ahead and tell her that city that you're actually in.
So we're located just a few minutes from the San Francisco Zoo. And the city is called Daly City, Daly City. Yeah, it's basically San Francisco. We're right on. If you walk 25 feet out of our property, you're in San Francisco. So,
yeah, I think that when San Francisco, I think I've been to that zoo. Have I been to that zoo? Yeah, he'll be her husband, Daniela, who you're talking to, Emilio. He'll be a mouthpiece for this. For sure. He'll talk about it all the time. And he's got a huge following. He'll talk about this to all his vets all the time. So this is what the beauty of podcasting is, right? We talked about that a little bit. How do we get out what we do? And you just never know who's listening, who has the next big audience that you'll be able to service with and do. And so this is what else is Danielle asking? She says, do people just show up? Or,
you book online at oceanviewstables.com. And when you're booking, there'll be a section that says veteran or regular rider. And if you push the veteran and then you put the code veteran in, as it will tell you to do, then it'll just cut the cost completely. It'll just be zero for your veteran rider.
Yeah, this is good. She said, yes, absolutely. Amelia will definitely share this information. She said, this is amazing. This is a good contact. You know, he's a,
Yeah, great.
he is a energetic dude for sure. It's so good. Yeah, that's awesome. That's the beauty of podcasting right here. Just to get into the practicality. Now, so you're asking, so more of the therapeutic, you got the riding part. So are you helping the vets? So when they come in to ride, or any rider, it doesn't have to be vets. Do you think that, do you take them through, hey, this is how you put the saddle on? Do you take them through the whole aspect of the horse?
Yeah,
How
so
does that work?
it depends. So if they're coming for a guided trail ride and that's the scope of their experience and that's what they want, they will be taught basic safety. Then they'll be taught how to ride at a basic level, well enough for them to be able to get on this guided trail ride and not take their own venture onto a different trail. Just the basics. That being said, if they're interested in more, then we offer more. They can learn all of the foundations of horsemanship. We teach it all, and they could learn horse anatomy, parts of the saddle, how to saddle, horse emotions. They could learn the whole process of how to ride. It's an in-depth program. Like I said, I do clinics often. I put them on the website, and it's veteran-only clinics, and it's like leadership with horses, or it's intro to horses clinic where I'll teach them how to saddle, how to groom, and how to ride basically. But I package these and put them out, and so there's those options. There's the lessons. They could do those as well. They could do the guided trail ride, which is just basic knowledge and then a fun experience.
And do you do anything outside of the riding? Is there any other kind of cowboying that you guys do? Do you have, or is it just basic riding that's at the
Yeah,
facility?
so when you do level 1, it gets you the foundational horsemanship. At level 2, we really dive into like the finer equitation. And at level 3, I have this fun concept. It's the 7 and 7 concept. I want you to go to 7 different disciplines for different competitions and do 7 of those competitions for each one of them. And I sponsor my students with my horses and tack. So like right now we're doing endurance. So endurance racing. And so we're going to go to 7 different endurance races, those who are in this program with me. And at the end of it, I'm going to go to Tevis, and whoever makes it that far and wants to join me, will go to Tevis with me, which is like a 100-mile 2-day race. Yeah.
That's awesome. Danielle was asking how far I am. How far I am from San Francisco is a 45-minute plane ride, or probably a 4 or 5 hour drive. You know what I mean? To get to where he's at from me. But it's a nice drive. It's up the coast. It's a different drive for California, so it's a nice drive to get up there for sure. I'm telling you that you're gonna. This is pretty awesome. Now, this endurance riding. So you said there's 7 different ones. So let's talk about this, man. I'm about this this competition type stuff. So when you're going out with this now? What's an endurance ride? Tell me about that.
Yeah.
What is that looking
So
like?
the endurance race that we're doing this weekend is a 50-mile race, and it's around the Sonoma Lake. And so it's a cool concept because we're going to be racing other people, and it's a 50-mile race, but you have to be vetted. Like I think it's every quarter. So your horse, you'll get stopped. Everybody gets stopped. It's like your pit stop, and the vets will check your horse to make sure that it's completely sound. And then you have to pulse your horse down to a standing heart rate before you're allowed to continue the race. So it's not just like who can go faster, but who can regulate their horse and keep their horse healthy and capable through this whole process. So you got to have some horsemanship and some care for your horse, along with good conditioning and ability to make this 50-mile race. It's a fun
So
game.
that would be, I would imagine, like an endurance race. Gosh, that would mean it's not only the horse that has to deal with that. It's the rider also, because riding 50 miles does not sound good on the crotch area if you're not ready for it. I would imagine.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a workout for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what is so you said there's 7 of those. So what's another one of those? What's some of the other ones?
So I don't really dictate it. I let my team dictate. So the students that I have, if they want to do team penning, or if they want to do sorting, or if they want to do cutting or reining cow horse or barrel racing, it doesn't matter. I'm open. If they want to do jumping, we'll figure it out. I don't need to be proficient in this. What I want to build is the universal horseman. I don't want to tunnel us into one specific thing. If somebody finds one that they're really interested in, like let's say that I have a team of kids and we did cutting, and we do a very mediocre version of cutting, and it was fun. And one of them's like, no, I really like this. Great. I'm going to call up somebody that I know who is really good at this and say, hey, I've got this kid. I've gotten him started. He's doing really well. And she wants to go further. So you should take this person on and push them to the next level. I'm trying to build the universal horseman, not the cutting horseman. And that's
right.
There's a whole other world for that. So
that's so interesting. The correlations between a martial arts school, right? Because you get them started in martial arts of self-defense, and then all of a sudden, hey, I want to go to this next level of competition. And I would say, well, this is where we're at. I'm at this level. Okay, I can take you up this far. If we're going to kick it into a new level, you need to get to a fight gym. That's where all they do is live and breathe fight. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, and then I would do the same thing. The correlations between it is so, it's so awesome that I can't. It's amazing how just in sync they are with each other, and how you set it up, going through different levels. Because it's the same thing here. If you're going to be an instructor, you got to go through level 1 instructor all the way up to expert 5. Once you get to expert 5, then this is the level you're in. And then on the next one is to teach the teachers, right?
Yep.
Is the next level. And you got to be a certain level in order to even be able to teach the teachers and be able to go through that process. And so that's just awesome. And we were off cameras, Zach. We were talking about your journey, even in the martial arts. You said that you started a little bit now on your own level and going to 10th Planet and doing some jiu-jitsu now. Is that correct?
Yeah. So like I was telling you, I did combatives when I was in the military, and I kind of lived off that high for a little bit. Like, yeah, I did some combatives. And it's been a long time now, and I was like, okay, well, my buddy's been training with me, working out. He's like, hey, let's go to 10th Planet. Let's start working that into the regiment. And actually, I'm going to go back a couple steps. The reason we're doing this is because my business partner and I, we were like, hey, if we ever get in a dispute, we should just like take it to the octagon. So like if we have a business dispute, whoever wins in the octagon, they win, So and we're like, yeah, we could turn the round pin into the octagon and we'll just fight it out there. But then we're like, okay, well, we have no idea how to fucking fight. So let's go train so that we can actually put this into our business plan and make it a real thing. And I'm just thinking, like, if we have a business, which we will, like in our 80s, we're gonna be like, fuck it, bring it to the octagon. I don't want to do it.
This is business planning, man. This is business planning 101. If I tap your ass, that's right. If I tap your ass, it's my way, bro.
Yeah. Now, my business partner is an outstanding wrestler. Like he did it through college and everything. And I'm like, fuck, I got to out train him now. So before we ever hit the octagon, I've got to be putting 3 days in a week while he puts his 1 in. So,
well, that's definitely unique, a unique individual. We'll get back at that. We're going to talk about that in a second. Daniela has a question for you. She goes, so would you say your DUI was a blessing in disguise? Would you be where you are now, serving veterans and making a difference in that, if that didn't happen? And did that make you get sober?
Yeah, no way. If I didn't get the DUI, I would not have been anywhere near where I'm at in this life. And I'm more fortunate than I deserve. And it took hitting rock bottom for me to completely change the route. And where I was going and the route I was going to school for, it would have been, I think I would have been more selfish. I was going a different route, a route to following money rather than following passion. And it took this plummet to the bottom for me to be like, you know what? I'm already here. I'm already at the bottom. What's the worst that's going to happen if I just chase my dream? And I don't think that I would have done that if I had more responsibility. So.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I know Daniela's husband, and Amelia will tell you his story too. He's in he's close to his 1 year sobriety as it is, from drinking that. I think
Dude, it does
that's
good for a lot of people.
definitely, yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Now, I didn't get that. I can tell you this: I went down the same road that you did as far as not drinking and stuff, but the depression road, injuries, stuff like that, kind of take your warriorship out of a man is it sucks. You know what I mean? When that happens. And that's why I was asking about the jujitsu. And I was telling you, when I went to on base and these guys, they all said the same thing. I went through combatives class. So tell the experience on your first, on the first day when you hit the mats, if those combatives came into play at all.
Oh, well, it's really hard to do combatives when my competitor's wearing a t-shirt, not a fucking uniform. I'm sorry, not a uniform. The way the combatives works is you're using a uniform, and if you don't have that, what the heck am I supposed to do? Like, hey, no, put on the right uniform. Is that what I'm going to tell the enemy? I don't know. It completely changed the whole concept to me. I'm like, fuck, am I going to fight against somebody who's wearing a suit? I don't think so.
And so in the jiu-jitsu world, that's the big thing. 10th Planet, right? They know him for no gi, and so and then you have gi and you got the no gi, and this is the big talk. And I relate jiu-jitsu to two things, right? When you got a gi on and when you got no gi. So gi, with the gi on, you have like breaks. You know what I mean? You like you're going downhill and you can break here and you can pin here and you can do that. And doing no gi, it's kind of like going downhill with no brakes. I mean, it's just nonstop action. It's this, you don't have grips, you don't have this, and so you have to be a little bit more unique. Not that they both don't have a place. I believe that they both have a place. I'm self-defense oriented. As much as I love jiu-jitsu, I'm still self-defense oriented. But on the same token, you get in a fight with somebody that has a hoodie on like I do, or a suit jacket or stuff, and you get the grips on those, you'll choke them out just like they're wearing a gi. You know what I mean? Without they don't even know it before they're going to sleep.
And that was just one concept. I mean, they wiped the floor with me on like 99% of the ways they could. I was just like, that's the one thing I remember from combatives that I could not implement.
We were talking a little bit on what a humbling experience it is. We've got one girl here talking about a DUI. My main instructor, and she's a female here, and she is gnarly in jiu-jitsu. She's a competitor, and she was just hit by a drunk driver. We're lucky she's alive. She's got a pin in her leg now, and that DUI, it took her out for probably a good 6 months. You know what I mean? That was a major blow to us, and she's like a daughter to me anyway. So, and I've lost a student back in 1996, 94, 96, named Carlos to driving to the studio, was hit head on by a drunk driver and killed. So those things, I tell everybody, these DUIs, man, is not necessary in today's world. Not with Uber and Lyft and everything. It's just not a crime that has to be okay. So I get where that's at, and I'm hoping you find. And we were talking about your training too. I think that's another place where growth happens, just like I think in your horse, where you're kind of grooming and you're kind of getting to be one. And I don't know if it's like jiu-jitsu this way. Do you feel that everybody has a different way with horses, just like they have a different journey in jiu-jitsu? Do you feel like connections are different? How do you see that?
Oh yeah. I mean, if you had 10 trainers in a room, you'd have 10 different ways to train. And it's theory based, and I follow Dorrance Brothers and the Ray Hunt style of natural horsemanship, and a lot of people do. But even with everybody who follows that, you have your own twists and turns on how you do it. As long as you're doing what's right for the horse, how you get there, as long as you get there, is a dance that is different person to person. So, and sometimes like I'm teaching my students and I'm showing, like, this is how you get the horse to do X, Y, and Z. And then they're doing it, and they did something that was a little bit different, but it worked so much better. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Let's step back a second. I like that. And so it's ever developing, and I'm constantly looking for new mentors and people that can get me to the next level constantly. It's just like jiu-jitsu and your sport. You can't stop learning. There's always something else that you can add to your toolbox.
Bro, there is always somebody freaking better on the mat and that you're learning from. I'm telling you, I tell this quite often. People say it quite often, and it could be true with the horse now. I'm thinking that I can't believe how many correlations there are to it as the more we talk about it. But, the mat really doesn't develop your character. It really reveals your character.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Same with horses.
So
horses are a reflection of you. So.
Yeah, correct. Right. I guess it has to be, because I see it all. I tell my students here all the time. I'm like, how you react to loss talks a lot about what you are. How you react to your wins tell you a lot about what you are. Are you humble in winning and humble in losing? Are you okay with tapping, or do you have an ego because you have to tap, or do you have to win everything? And it just starts curving you. And I watch it in my own students. Like at white belt level, they're the worst, right? They're the most dangerous ones to roll with. They have no control. They have no idea what they're capable of. And nobody wants to roll with white belts. We say it quite often. Listen, man, white belt lives don't matter. So I think that's the same correlation. I don't know if you find that it just, the horse will reveal your character, and if you have to refine your character to the horse, do you feel that's the same thing?
This is why it's so therapeutic. So like when you want to work with a horse, you're either making a horse a little better or a little worse every time you work with it. And if you can't tell me how you made him better, you've made him worse. So it's very, very dangerous to go in there without an idea, without knowing why you're going into the job, what you're trying to get out of the horse, and then working towards that goal. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is here's something analogy I really like. If you are driving to the stables and somebody cuts you off and that pisses you off and you honked and you're just frustrated because that person pissed you off, and you're going to the ranch and you're like, oh, that mother, and you go up there and you get your horse out and you put him in the round pen. You're going to work with him. That horse is going to see and feel all that. You can't lie to that horse. You can't say to that horse, oh, everything's fine. That horse feels it. And that horse doesn't know that you just got cut off. That horse sees you as a predator and you're hungry. And that horse is afraid that you're going to try to eat him or something. It's their mind is set on, okay, there's something wrong. And it's going to reflect in them. If you can't figure out and calm yourself down and regulate yourself before you go work with the horse is going to tell you. And you can't hide that from him. So,
yes, I that's so, man, that's so true. I remember Black too. Black could always know when you're kind of frustrated, and then he would be the calmer. You know what I mean? And I can tell when he has a little bit of anxiety, I would be the calmer. I remember this vividly. I kind of remember it has been so many years since I did it, but Danielle says this is true too, right? It's just like true. Says money doesn't change you; it reveals you who you really are. Same on the mat. That's true. Yeah. And what's she right?
Yeah, money's the same thing. Money amplifies you. So does power. Like you just become more of who you are. And with horses, if you're an angry person, that's going to reflect on your horse really, amplified. And if you're a timid person, well, your horse is going to get timid because it's going to think there's a reason to be timid. So it's going to reflect that. And if you're calm, your horse is going to be calm because it's going to feel like everything's okay. So you're going to see a lot of you coming out of that horse.
So Zach, so when you're teaching, interesting, right? I keep on coming back to this mindset of a teacher. So when you're teaching somebody your horsemanship, are you giving these life lessons on the same thing, just like I do on the mat? Hey, man, when you're angry, you can't function. And then if you can't function, your partner's not going to be able to function. And then you got two losing battles going on at the same time. Are you able to give these life lessons when you're doing horsemanship?
Well, I have to for the horse's sake. So I have to explain how this is going to affect the horse every step of the way because, I care about those horses more than I care about the people, to be honest. And the people come second. And I'm going to
true with any animal.
Yeah. Like just the other day, I had two employees bickering, and one of them threw a big fit, and then he thought he was going to get on a horse. I was like, no, you take a step. I'll take this ride out. You're going to regulate yourself. And if I come back and you seem to be okay, then we'll talk about you getting on a horse. I won't allow it. So.
Yes, that's interesting. Now you have a certain horse that's yours, that you have your horse. Do you have one that's super bonded with you?
I would say all of them, but I do have one horse that has a particular story that is that makes him bonded to me the most. He was trained by some jerk cowboy who wanted to turn him into a bronking horse, and put the fear of God into him and made him buck as good as he possibly could, and I got him out of that situation, and I've been I wanted to really work on proving my horsemanship, so I got him as soft as I possibly could on every little detail, made him so soft and like overemphasized, getting him to move off of this just real soft feel, and him and I built a nice a nice relationship. And then what I found was I made him to the point where I couldn't put anybody on him, like, because he had this buck in him. And what happens if he's trying to get out of pressure, and they look for, if you put pressure on them, they're going to go through the steps of what they know to try to problem solve this pressure to get it to be released. And so one of his tools in his toolbox is to turn back into a bronking horse. And so if somebody gets on this horse and they put on more pressure, it doesn't have to be a lot more pressure, but more pressure than I put on, and I made him super soft, he's going to go through his problem solving steps. And one of them is bronking, and then he throws the person off, and it's like, whew, nobody can ride him. So for the longest time, only me, like, and a very small handful of my students that have made it to a certain level of horsemanship are allowed to ride him. And so while I wouldn't say I love all my horses, but him and I have a bond because almost nobody can ride him but me.
That's
I
almost
don't want to fix that. I like it,
Yeah, that's super interesting story. That's super interesting story. Do you have horses that have come out of trauma too, that have, besides him, that have become awesome therapeutic horses coming from a trauma to this?
Almost all my horses, except for like the bred performance horses, come out of some sort of trauma. I seek out horses with severe behavioral issues, and then I work through the behavioral issues, and then I get them to the point where I put any client on them, whether it's a 6-year-old or it's a 80-year-old, and they can get on them just fine going down the trails on the lessons. And so my goal is to get this horse to be, gentle enough for anybody to be able to get on them. And that gives them a second chance. Now you have, children and people coming out, veterans coming out, grooming them, loving on them, riding them, giving them treats. It's a better life than having an owner that's scared of them, which is the contrast of what, where I take them from.
So do you have horses also you breed? Do you breed those, or you look for them mostly?
No, I don't breed horses. So like the performance horses, we'll buy them for the specific, for certain types of competition. Sometimes I'm a big fan of, again, the universal horseman. I like the idea of being able to get a horse to do everything well. I don't need to be great at it. My horse doesn't need to be great at it, but if I can move my horse along to many different elements of horsemanship and competition, then I feel like, that's proof of a well-rounded horse and a well-rounded horseman. So.
Is it a traditional business, Zach, or is it a 503?
No, so this is a traditional business. I was looking at the 501c3 as a second aspect to this, for maybe a veteran therapy program. And what I found with that is, when I got my DUI, I was in a lot of, I was going through trauma and anxiety and a lot of things. And there's no way in hell I was going to go to a therapist. No way in hell. It didn't cross my mind that I was in any position where I needed to go talk to a therapist. And I would never have done that. And so my problem with making this a more established therapy program rather than this red tape struck, you can come ride for free and enjoy the horses. The problem with going the other way is I'm going to start adding that red tape. And now people are going to have to say, hey, I have a problem to come do this thing. When what I really want is those people like myself who are not going to admit this, who are too strong of a man or a woman to go through, the process. They can still come and they can still work with the horse, and they can accidentally, possibly get help.
Interesting. So did you go through any therapy yourself or not, or did you use the horses?
No, I go through therapy now, and I go through the process now. I've self-reflected, and I've learned that there's some help. But most of it is through horses, but I do when needed, talk to people about it. But I found that the best thing for me through all process, I've tried a lot of things. Nothing quite hits like helping a horse along.
Yeah, that's awesome. Such a cool thing. I knew this would be an awesome hour to kind of talk about this, and I never. This is what I'm talking about. Like when I do these organic interviews, the correlation between what I do and what you do, the martial arts and the horsemanship. And I had a horse. I think that's why it kind of all drew to me anyway, because I got to experience having a horse, and my aunt raises paint horses. That's what she's done ever since I was a little kid out in Modesto. She has paint horses, and that's what she did forever. And she's had beautiful show horses come out of her stock, And so I've been around that for a long time. I've always felt that horses are, they're just, I don't know, there's just something about them, I'm a dog person too, there's just something about the animals that I've always liked hanging out with, just being with. So I get that, how therapeutic that is for those military guys. But we're already coming up on our hour, man. So I want to give this, let me see, what's this last comment we got? Is it Daniela? Let's see what she says. She says, this was awesome. Thank you for what you do, Zachary. Great interview. I would definitely have Emilio reach out. Yeah, her husband will probably reach out to you and have a conversation with you. And he'll really put what you do out there on the map, especially for the military guys, for sure.
Yeah, horses are a reflection into your soul. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, 100%. So let me give you the last few seconds, Zach, to where people can find you and how to reach out to you. What's the best way? Go ahead and give them your Facebook page, and we got your website out there. So go ahead and give them how to get a hold of you.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm. If you want to reach me personally, you can reach me at Zachary@oceanviewstables.com. If you want to reach our facility, just go on to oceanviewstables.com and book a ride. Like I said, you can reach me if you have questions about horses or what we do or why we do it. I'm happy to answer them. And veterans ride for free, of course. So come out to our facility and enjoy what we offer.
So that's good. So, reaching out to the vets too that are out there that are listening or listening on replay, and it'll be on audio. I'll have this on audio for you also, Zach. So we have this on video, but I'll have an audio portion of this too, so people can just listen to it in their drive, and you can always direct them to the audio or the video part of it at YouTube. It doesn't really matter, but I'll have that done for you later today. It'll be out for audio. I'll send it to you so you can share it with your other audience out there. But if we do have vets listening and, you're struggling, I'm sure Zach has no problem, talking to you guys or directing you on what you can do. So you guys make sure you reach out. We want to make sure our veterans are always safe. And I appreciate the hour with you, Zach. I look forward to it. We are going to set something up. We are going to come. We're going to make a guy's trip out of this. We're going to come in. Yeah. And we'll really get to know you. I'll bring some cool cats with me when I come too. So
all right, let's do it. All right.
Really enjoyed the hour, Zach. Appreciate it, man.
You've been listening to Real Talk with Mark Cox. Real life, real topics, real conversation. We're passionate about motivation, fitness, self-defense, weight loss, and coming at it from a real angle. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. And we hope you had fun. We know we did. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hit us up on Instagram and Facebook at MarkCox100. Make sure to subscribe and review. And tell a friend or two about the show. For more, hit up the website at markcox.com. Till next time, keep it real.